Hello. Oh, where is my mic? It's right here. Hello, Newtown Radio. Hello, YouTube. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, hey.
Okay, I hear you perfectly. That's amazing. Okay, perfect. Hi. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, so hi everyone. Today we have Kevin with us, which is really exciting because Kevin is a musician, and I'm gonna introduce him in one moment. But today we have a really exciting episode because today we're gonna talk about being a musician in the city, which is awesome. So Kevin, right before you're gonna introduce yourself as well, I'm gonna read your bio because I'm gonna start doing it from now on. I think it's cool. Because you have a really impressive bio, and I have a lot of questions about that too. And I think me reading the bio gonna give people a little bit more idea about like what we're gonna talk about today because like you have a lot of experience. So Kevin Diamond grew 70,000 followers on TikTok, quit his job, and moved to Bali in 2020. After launching a successful six-figure business and pursuing his personal ambitions, Diamond found God after a motorcycle accident, and his journey took a completely new direction. Diamond started pursuing electronic music with the mission of bringing light into the darkness, exposing government corruption, and fighting human injustices. I love that. Diamond believes the power of music can merge different cultures, spread truth, and ultimately bring people back to the core purpose of life, love. He now resides in NYC, New York City, whoever doesn't know what NYC is, where he DJs, produces a unique style of melodic house and melodic techno, and works full-time leading a social media agency where he works with inspiring startups and brands that are changing the world. By the way, See You Soon, if you watch the episode of See You Soon, Kevin works with See You Soon. So that's part of what he does. He's dedicated to serving at his church, sewing in the community, and making music that gives people the real thing that they're looking for all along: holiness over happiness. So that's really impressive. There is more to his bio that I'm going to link to my YouTube channel that you're going to read a little bit more about him. But generally, we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So if you can just tell me shortly, maybe something that I didn't mention, something that you want to expand on, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for everyone who's listening. I think they say it's like 10% of the world are the ones that read books. And so
That's crazy, really?
Yeah, so anyone who's already listening, like kudos to you, pat yourself on the back because
Kudos to you.
you're one of those people chasing personal growth. I think the only thing I'd love to emphasize is I never wanted to be on camera. I never wanted to do the TikTok, the social media thing. I think everyone thinks you're either one of two people that like want to be on camera and crush it, and those who don't. And it's like, I think you would agree. The truth is, most of us don't want to always do the social media game.
No.
And we just get to a place where it's like our art form or our impact in the world requires us to. So we just kind of surrender to it. So yeah, I still feel cringe like taking selfies and recording lunches to post on social media. But
I know. I keep struggling with that. Yeah. I keep forgetting because I will be having like the greatest moment and I don't think like automatically, oh, I have to record it to social media, but then I do, but then the moment is gone and I'm like, can I enjoy or do I need to create content right now? So yeah, definitely understand the struggle.
The artist struggle. Yeah, but no, that's it. I'm excited to get into it. And for anyone that's either living in New York and trying to figure it out or a big city, or looking to move to a city but just interested in doing music full time, like I just want to say everything is possible. Like all the dreams that are put inside of us, they're all possible. We just got to go all out for it and cut off plan B. So
that's for sure. This plan B, I remember struggling a lot with that because like most people will tell you have a plan B. Yes. But I feel like the moment you say, oh, I have a plan B, you will fall on your plan 100%. B. And yeah, that's like, I feel like it's a really hard reality to live in because you want to be secure. You want to stay safe. Like naturally as human beings, we want to stay safe. But then this safety is what like ends up failing us, which 100%. Is crazy.
There's, I forgot which book it is. It might be like a Jordan Peterson book or something, but it just talks about how our bodies, like you said, physiologically, we are wired to not change.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to answer it like shortly, the one thing that I could dive into deeper on the bio was just, I was so comfortable before I did all that. And my parents were so pleased with me. I was like working this full-time job. And so in going on with what you're saying, I just joked that if we're ever doing something that like the people in our life approve, I was that was my key to I'm living too small. That's how I knew like something needed to change.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, I definitely get it. Yeah, I think my entire family, except my mom, everyone is like, what's happening with you? Like, what are you doing with your life? So definitely. Yeah, I wanted to ask you because, so you moved to Bali from New York, right? Were you in New York before?
yeah, upstate New York.
Okay, so you moved to Bali beginning of COVID?
2020 October. Yeah,
So
about yeah,
COVID in
4
the
or 5
middle.
months into it, right in the middle of it.
Wow. What made you want to like
Yeah,
go? Because it's
so
far. It's not like a little
oh
vacation
no,
or
it
like
was a full
regular.
jump. I was working at a school, private school for students with different abilities, learning some disabilities, and it was a nurse at my school. All my kiddos were home for COVID, and I missed them. Shout out to them because I know like some of them still listen and follow and keep in touch. They're amazing. They filled my heart. But one of my nurses was like, Kevin, you're like 29 years old. You're in this like middle of nowhere town in upstate New York. You're never gonna meet anyone here. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, like I'm stable. I have this job. And it was this nurse that she had like one son and she had adopted him and traveled around Europe. And she was like, those were my best years. And didn't you used to work remotely and you lived in the Caribbean and Costa Rica? And I had done travel prior to that, but I was just like at this nice stable place trying to do the thing, you know, like get the job, have the car. And she just planted the seed that I couldn't get away from it. So it led me to ask the question in June of 2020, if I were to live anywhere, where would I want to live? And we'll dive into that because not in a bad way, but at that time in my life, I was chasing selfish ambitions. Like, where do I want to live? What do I want to do? And so the answer was Bali. I just put my finger on a map. I was like, cool, you know, digital nomad life, network, laptop cafes, but I had no idea how to get there. And I came across like the concept of travel influencers, and the whole word just felt so cliche. I was like, influencer, like that just cringe, feels fake. I'm so not about that. Give me the authenticity. And of course, I was like, but it's a step in the right direction because you're an entrepreneur, you can travel, you work with brands that are in alignment with your values. And at the same time, of course, Instagram probably listens to everything we say. An ad showed up for this course about building a following on Instagram so you can do that. So I bought the course and I just kind of realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like not in a bad way, the woman selling the course, I was like, I'm sure she's making some money from doing the travel influencing and partnering with hotels and brands, but also if she just sold a course for say $1,000, there's 120 of us in the course. I'm like, there's the 6-figure travel income right there. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to do it for the newest, greatest platform, TikTok. And so I was kind of intentional about like, okay, if I'm going to do it for TikTok, I need to learn this platform. I need to have a good story or people aren't going to like learn from me or listen to me on TikTok. So I kind of got to nail this thing. And so then I went all in. And in August, I kind of put a little game plan together. It's a lot of trial and error. You're just throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. And it blew up. And I got like 70,000 followers in a month. And then I was
What
like,
was it? It was like music or music related or what was it?
so nugget for everyone listening, whenever you're thinking of like, oh, what songs do I need to make or what artist career or what content, it was not the cool stuff. Like in my head going into it, I was like, I need to be like this cool wellness travel content creator in Bali and then I'll take off. And in reality, it was like lonely boy, sad boy, like mental health content where I was just listening to this guy, shout out to Creating Wonders. He puts out these like just daily quotes, essentially like quote of the day stuff you can search. And it was just inspiring quotes. And I would take his quote and I just put it over my video. I'd literally type in like what the quote said over my video. And after a while, the consistency, it just took off. But I was sharing, and this is something to take away, I was sharing things from the heart. There were videos that resonated.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had community in my town. I felt like the black sheep in every place I went. I didn't feel like my family understood me or my dreams. I didn't feel like the friends at that time really understood who I was. My friends were all in 8-year-plus relationships, some of them married, working real jobs. And I was like trying to full send on TikTok and go live by myself somewhere on an island.
And it can be really discouraging. Like when you see everyone, I feel like a lot of people, when you're in the wrong environment, you see everyone doing the same thing. And no matter what you do, you're going to be like, something is wrong with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one, like, you know, not here, not like, thinking differently. That can be so discouraging. But so I understand you wanting to move out from there because rather than changing yourself, which was the right decision, right? You weren't like, oh, I need to settle down and, you know, like be like everyone else. You're like, let me find a new environment.
Thank God.
And that's amazing.
Amen. I think that there's a few quotes that go with it. Somebody told me once about like women, like there was a friend I was with and she was struggling with dating, and somebody was like, listen, you're like a $2,000 dress on a Kmart rack. You got people coming in looking for $10 dresses, and they're intimidated by you because you're so expensive. But you feel like there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just in the wrong environment. And so like I loved that quote.
Yeah.
And then another one of just like being a plant and needing to be repotted. And it's like,
I read this quote yesterday.
let's go.
This is so insane.
Yeah, like you don't blame the plant for not growing.
You change the environment.
You make it bigger. You let it grow. So sometimes we just need a better, bigger environment that suits us.
For sure. That's why I love New York. So, like those of you who are thinking of moving to New York, if you feel like you are not in the environment that you need to be, especially if you're coming from a small town and you feel like everyone is already like settled and people are expecting from you to settle down, get married, have kids, have a normal job, right? So for sure, like big cities, New York, LA, you know, like
100%.
Other cities that I haven't visited, but just move there because I feel like here in this city, all the people come to like chase their dreams and work hard and do something with their lives. And that's
it's amazing. And I was the person that was like, oh, it's cooler elsewhere. I lived in Costa Rica for 6 months. I lived in the Caribbean. I lived in Bali, Tulum. New York is all of that. And it's like the first place in the States I'm like, this is so cool because, I mean, look at you. Look where you're from, right? Like you meet people from all around the world. And then, like you said, it's an expensive city in some areas, and we'll dive into that. But the cool part about that is that means people like who want to be here will do whatever it takes to be here. So the quality of people you're getting is like hustlers that a lot of them won't even be working at their art. We'll get into this too, like full time. And it just shows you how much they love their art, that they're willing to, you know, wait tables or bus or like whatever it is, drive Uber just to be around the scene. And so you're getting, I feel, the most motivated, the most passionate, but the doers in the artist industry. So it's like super inspiring to be around.
For sure, because it's so much more comfortable to stay at home, live with your parents, right? And then you can do art full time because you don't need to pay this crazy ass rent in New York City. But then the people. Where are the people? Like you need to meet the community, and people who will eventually pay money to buy your art, they're also here.
Yes. You get, it's so true. Yesterday, funny story, I was walking to the gym and like, I'm DJing Friday night. Okay. So got a little event Friday night. Should be big actually, like 300 capacity.
I hope I'll edit it until then. And then if I do, link is down below.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm hustling, right? So every time I see a cool person on the street, I look for like the bright colored clothing, a few tattoos. Those are like my giveaways. So I'm walking down the street and I usually don't have headphones in because I don't want to miss out on what's going on. But I have my headphones in trying to catch up on a voice message. And I see somebody walking at me. I'm like, she looks super cool. Take off my headphones and just point blank as she's walking by, I'm like, yo, do you like music? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, we got this event Friday. We literally talked for 45 minutes on the sidewalk. Dope human. We're chatting about business. She's being an entrepreneur. We're talking about music. She sings. She's airdropping me vocals. I'm like going to produce something. And I share this because that's the beauty of New York. I think people think like New York can be scary and intimidating. And it is for the people that aren't New Yorkers. I don't know if you've noticed. It's the tourists here and the like expats. Like the people that don't live here are the ones that are like timid on the street or on the sidewalk. The people that live here, they're like, listen, we've seen it all. Nothing can faze us. You want to talk to me in public? Like, what's up? And I just think that's so cool. It's like, I don't know. When I was traveling or at a hostel, I always felt like I was on the same plane as everybody else. So I could just like be friends because we're all at the hostel. We're all on holiday. And in New York, I feel the same. It's like everybody here, I just feel like we're all on the same level playing field. Like we could just strike up a conversation and people have this underlining like respect. Like you're here, you're motivated, you're working hard on your craft. Like I respect you because we know what it takes to live in this city. For sure. And talking about that, as I told you, like sometimes I would get questions on my Instagram for people who are not from New York, who are considering moving to New York or, you know, traveling or just like coming here to record something or to perform. And I feel like both of us can, you know, you came to New York, but you lived here. So you have maybe a little bit more knowledge about like the general aspect of it. And I can contribute a little bit like of like coming here, you know? So I want us to try and answer those questions to the people. So the first question would be, is it possible to make money being a musician in the city?
So I know you mentioned a little bit that like sometimes you need to wait tables, but what's your take? Like, can you be a full-time musician making money, or how does it?
Yeah, I think when people ask, can I make money doing this? You can make money doing anything. I like to look at the examples of the people that are doing it successfully. There's a few books out there that'll teach you how to make money as a musician without being successful. And I'm like, I don't want to learn from that person. Like, I want to learn from the person that's crushing it and like, is that mega, whatever I'm trying to be. There's a great book out there I recommend called Happy Pocket Full of Money. I think that's a foundation.
Write this down while you're talking.
Write it down. We'll throw it in the link. Link will be in the bio on Amazon. For real, it's like such a healthy foundation for anyone trying to make money in any art or craft, understanding the concept of money and energy and the exchange about it, because that's ultimately what's holding us back. It's not the city. Is it New York or LA I can make more? Is it if I do podcast for a living or I'm a drummer for a band? It's your mindset. It's our mindset.
Oh my God, completely.
Like I'm reading this book right now, and a lot of times when we think about moving to New York or signing with a record label, like whenever we move into next chapters, people ask, what do I need to do to prepare for that next chapter? And that's actually the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, what do I need to believe to be successful in that next season? And it's like, we always focus on the doing, but we forget like the beliefs part. And if we don't have the beliefs in alignment, like the doing doesn't matter. But also if we have the beliefs in alignment, like the behaviors follow.
Oh my God, completely. You're talking and I'm like, you're reading my mind. I talk about it all the time, and it starts with your mindset. Obviously you need 100%. To be doing things, but it really starts with what we believe in, because that changes also what we're doing.
Yes.
And knowing from myself, like being, because especially you're a musician, you're an artist, so you for sure understand when you have like this little depression period or where you don't believe in yourself, you're like, don't want to create art. That happens. And I noticed that when I do have that, I don't want to create. I don't want to do anything. Even like talking to people, they ask me like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, whatever, but then when I get inspired, when that moment passes and I get inspired, I'm like, I'm a musician. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It changes completely.
It's a declaration. I am a musician. When you say that, your brain is wired to not make yourself crazy. There's stories that if you're in your kitchen and you're looking for cinnamon and you're saying, I can't find the cinnamon, even if it's right in front of you, you won't find it, because your brain is wired to not make you crazy. So if you're saying, I'm not an artist for XYZ reasons, you're not going to be an artist. And on the plus side, contrary, if you are saying, I'm a musician, your brain is going to seek out, it's just called cognitive bias. That's what it is, confirmation bias. Your brain is going to seek out opportunities to confirm that you are a musician. And that's just going to build it. And there's a great concept of like, you have your thoughts, and your thoughts create your beliefs, and your beliefs create your actions, and your actions create your results. And a lot of times people struggle with changing their beliefs or changing their thoughts. And the hack is not always to just try to rewire the beliefs or the thoughts. It's to change the results. And you do that with your imagination. And that's where people talk about visualizing. Because if you just change your imagination, and I don't know what your particular dream is, but maybe it's being on stage and singing or rapping. Like if you just see yourself doing it, you start to think about that, and then your thoughts influence your beliefs, and then your beliefs will influence your actions, because your actions will then try to work to confirm that vision that it's seeing, because your brain isn't able to decipher what's true from imagination to reality. So that's the quick hack too. It's like you don't always have to worry about like just rewiring your thoughts. It's like, dude, just change the result and use your imagination. Last quote on that is like, there's no hopeless circumstances, just people without hope.
Wow.
And that ties in. Yeah. I'll say it again. There's no hopeless circumstances, just people without hope. Because when you were talking about like the depression state, every time we feel sad or depressed, it all comes from a lack of hope in something being fulfilled, in that dream. Yeah. If we have hope in the dream, that's when you're like, yo, I'm inspired. Like I'm a musician. Yeah. Without that hope, we're like, oh, this is pointless. And it's once we start to lose faith that that thing is going to come true. So it's like it all comes down to hope.
That's true. And if you are somehow still skeptic about what we talked about just now, because people have tendency to think, oh, our mind, like I'm not going to just like make my reality just by thinking about. If you're still skeptic, it is a research. There were so many researches done by people cure themselves from cancer just by thinking about it. So it's a thing. It's real. It's out there. People lost weight just by looking at themselves and feeling skin. Like, it works. Really, it works. So if you are a skeptic, just do some research of your own and watch those videos, read those books, read those articles and studies that connect the neurological, our minds with our bodies, and you will see that our thoughts actually create reality. And that's true.
And that reminds me, that's the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Wow. Let me write this down.
Yeah. and that's what that book says is, if you are somebody who hears this and your brain right away is like, no way, that's not true, or this is fake, or they're trying to sell me something, that is our brain trying to keep us the same. Because once we accept a new truth, we have to change. And our body doesn't want to change. It feels unsafe to our physiology. Our physiology is like, no, like I don't want to change. That's scary. And this book is all about that, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Okay, I'm going to link these books down below. I'm also going to purchase some. So keep recommending books. And talking about books, by the way, there's an amazing book that's called Beyond Talent. It's mostly for musicians, but it can also fit artists. It's what we talked about. It's a lot about like your mindset and how to think and all that. I'm going to write this down.
Amazing. I'm noting that one. The Big Leap, while we're doing a book. The Big Leap is one. Jump into the next chapter. We'll get there. Yeah, okay. My books are like, Happy Pocket Full of Money has always been the money book. And The Big Leap is like always jumping into a new version of yourself. Again, goes through mindset stuff.
That's amazing. There are so many books. Like sometimes I would wish, like, I don't have enough time in a day to read all the books that I want. And I read and I listen on the subway too, but it's still not enough because some books are like, it takes time to process. I don't want to just like go over it. And there are so many books. So I'm going to link them down below. I'm probably going to add some more books because there are a lot of options that we can talk about. But so we mentioned 3. Which also, the book, by the way, that I just recommended, the Beyond Talent, Casting a Successful Career in Music, also ties back to our job,
Cool.
into music. So you mentioned that and you said like you can make money with music. And definitely, I think that the thing that you need to be ready to, and I spoke about it last time in my other episodes with the questions that you asked me, is that you need to be willing to start if you're moving new to the city and just like first time in the city, you need to be willing to start with, waitressing job or bartending job, unless you're coming with like crazy social following and you're already making money out of YouTube and Spotify and all that. Obviously you have that income, but to make it like in the city, right? You mentioned you need to create those connections. You need to be out there. You need to go out, and rent here is high. So obviously it's better to prepare yourself to be ready to start low.
And if you would have told me that and I was listening, I would have been upset. I would have been like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm the real DJ. Like, I just want to make money for my craft. I don't want to do social media on the side. And now I look at it differently. It's like every artist does this. I don't care how big or small. They're either selling merchandise and pushing t-shirt sales at their concerts, or, they're doing something. And it's like, we just have to be creative right now it's 2024. We have things like Patreon. We have Spotify that pays out about $4,000 per 1 million listens, essentially. And it's
YouTube as well.
All these platforms, right. So many different platforms. And then you could do product placement and brand collabs, and you become a content creator and an artist.
Or sync opportunities.
Exactly.
There's so many
sync
options.
Sync is huge. Like,
so many
plug,
options.
video gaming industry blowing up right now. No one talks about that. I have a friend that runs a sync agency. She's like, dude, video games, this Gen Alpha, I suppose, like everyone's playing video games and cool video games, healthy video games. And it's like, that's more opportunity for music. All the social media platforms, people complain, but it's like, that's more opportunity for music. Instagram just did something. You're going to be able to start, I believe, adding a song to your profile. Like for the millennials, those who can remember MySpace and stuff. Yeah. And it's just like more opportunities. So yeah, we could dive into the logistics of like how to make the money doing it, but it's so possible. And I think being creative is the exciting part. It's, how do I want to make money as an artist? Like, do you want to? Like, as a DJ, right? I can just make money from performing. Like DJs, it's great if you have big concerts because your stage doesn't cost anything. It's you and a few things.
Well, after you bought all the $1,000
of course.
worth of equipment.
And like, but like you look at like other artists, like I don't know, like a Beyonce or Taylor Swift concert, and they got dancers and colors and lights. And like a DJ, it's a pretty simple stage, right? Ed Sheeran, they say, is like one of the smartest artists for that, because it's like it's him in a loop pedal, you know, with 50,000 people. So it's just asking yourself, like, do I want to make money from that? Do I want to make money from streaming? Like, what's your personality? Do you actually want to be on stage 365 days out of 365 days?
You know, I realized I don't want that.
Yeah. And then so it's like, cool. Now you get to build a business around your art in a way that's sustainable. So it's like, maybe you're like, no, I'm just going to make killer songs because I love that. I love collaborating with other artists, and I love putting my music out there, and I want the reach. So I'm just going to focus on content and music, and like I'll do some shows or maybe like tour for a summer, but then the rest of the year I'm going to be chilling. And it's like, that's what's cool, is you get to ask yourself like what works for your lifestyle.
Yeah, like you mentioned, being authentic. Like we all need to create content, but it's gonna really frustrate you if you're gonna create content that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
So you need to create content that you want, that you like, not for the followers, not for that, not for you, for things that you enjoy, things that you find amazing to create. Because otherwise, it's like you said, unsustainable. Like you won't be able to do something for a long time if you not enjoying that. And trust me, I tried that. I was like, oh, this is trending. This is nah.
Yeah, it does. No, you got to do what's authentic. And that goes with like how you make money too. You know, like, do you want to work as a barista? Like, that's fine. Or maybe you don't. And I think the important thing and like the hard pill to swallow is like, nothing is always fun. And that's where I wrote in the bio, chasing holiness over happiness. Our world right now is platforming happiness because they can sell you on that. Yeah. And I learned that. I spent $60,000 on self-help education, and some of it was great and some of it wasn't. It's a never-ending rabbit hole of, I'm not good enough. I need to heal myself. I need to heal myself. I need another book, another yoga class, another YTT training. And it's like people are making money off of our insecurity of becoming, but like we're always becoming. And so the concept of chasing holiness is just like being a good person, essentially, just having good morals. And so once we realize that, we get over ourselves that like, I need to love everything I do and I only want to make money from my craft, because even if and when you only make money from your art, it's not always fun.
It's not always
like
fun.
Your art isn't always fun. Doing your passion full time isn't always fun. Like everything does have two sides of the coin. And the sooner we can accept that, then we just get to decide what coin we want to run with, right? Do I want to be a barista and do my art? Do I want to do my art and push merchandise at open mics? Like, it doesn't matter. You could do both, but it's just what works for you. But yeah, it's just accepting that, like, it's not always going to be fun and games, and that's okay. We're not going to fail. Enjoy the ride. It doesn't have to be up all the time.
That's for sure. It almost failed me because there was a point that I was doing something that I wasn't enjoying, like related to music, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not a true artist because I don't enjoy the process.
Yes. And you said that earlier, right? It was like the comparing ourselves. Well, that's where it comes from. That somebody said once, what we compare ourselves to is somebody else's front of stage. We're not seeing their back of stage. We're not seeing their depressed seasons, their time with themselves in the shower where they're beating themselves up because they forgot the one book or the thing to say on the podcast. We're just seeing like the best of the best and comparing ourselves to their front of stage. The same way with what we put forth, right? It's like, oh, cool, they're on podcast or making songs. Like they don't see the XYZ behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just remembering like everyone has a behind the scenes too, and not to compare to just their front of stage appearance.
Yeah, for sure. It's really important to remember. We're going to mention that talking also about TikTok a little bit more. Yeah. So the next question will be, where can I meet other musicians outside of social media? I feel like we touched a little bit on that, but maybe if we can go a little bit to like more specific, you know, a musician comes to town, like what to do.
I think you got to go to shows, and I'm the worst at this, right? I'm a DJ and I'm like, no, I need to make content and make money and like,
no time.
I need to make my own videos. And it's like a friend flew in from LA on Sunday. She played a set. And it's actually like sad. Like this is something to talk about too real quick. Is like, dude, when you're an artist or you're an entrepreneur, like you have friends from all around the world, right? You travel. And it's like, it's not always easy on the heart. Like I have a friend I haven't seen in 3 months. She was here in June for a set and she's here in August. I see her for an hour and a half. We hang out in the green room. That sounds cool for 10 minutes. She goes to do a dinner and I go home and do a Zoom call. And it's like, you're like, oh, I miss my buddy. But you got to get out and go to shows because it's just meeting people. It's meeting friends of friends. I think that's the short answer. It's friends of friends. get yourself out to a show. If you don't have friends to go with, go solo, chat somebody up there. They invite you to something. People are super welcoming. But even if you're an introvert, even if that's not your like forte of meeting people, you just got to get out of your comfort zone. And you have to go out. There's so much going on in New York. There's open mics, there's speakeasies, there's somebody doing a comedy show.
Social clubs.
Yeah. Anything. It doesn't like if you're a singer, like you can go to a comedy club. Like if you're a comedian, you can go to a DJ event. It's like just get around the artists, get around the creators.
Yeah.
And tell, I think the biggest thing is tell people what you do, right? You said earlier, like, I'm not an artist. And then how inspired you felt when you said, I am a musician.
Yeah.
So when people meet you, like, don't just like hush what you really love and be like, oh yeah, I work at this cafe. Be like, yeah, I work at this cafe, but like I'm in the city because I love X, Y, and Z. Like I sing or I do like background vocals and I'm trying to like make a name for myself. And then people are like, cool, now I know who to connect you with.
Exactly. And to those of you who want a little bit more specific, I'll tell you exactly how that happens for somebody who actually came like from a different country here to New York City. If you're not going to like a music college or music school or things like that, and you really like come here and you really don't know where to start and you don't know anyone in the city and you don't know the places or nothing, meetup.com, eventbrite.com, Secret
soon.
NYC, see us soon, the Shaka Club, NYC 57. There are so many places. You just type music, poetry, DJing, whatever, and you find all these events that are happening. Let's say you go to an event of the Shaka Club, and then they're partnering with See You Soon. And then you meet Kevin, and he's a DJ. And then you invite him to your radio show, and then he says, hey, I produce. And you're like, oh, cool, let's do a song together. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You have to be out there.
And it doesn't happen if you don't tell people, right? If you just say, I only
Exactly.
do photography or I only
Exactly.
do social media for this startup.
Yeah.
You got to say, this is everything. Like
Yeah.
when people say, how are you? Give them the real answer. When they say, what do you do in New York? Give them everything. And so
everything. Yeah, I would for the longest time I was doing this mistake. I would say people, I'm a photographer, because I'm like, well, if I say I'm a photographer, they can hire me and I can make money. If I say I'm a musician, they're like, oh, cool. And that was my mindset. And I start for a whole year, I would tell people I'm a photographer. People didn't know I was a musician.
Yep.
People didn't know. And I woke up like literally, it happened like 2 weeks ago. I was like, fuck.
And
The fuck, Vika.
and that's where healthy segue, that's where social media comes in.
Yeah.
Because you get that new person's Instagram, you connect. And if your Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, showcases what you do, then that also does the selling for you. They're like, oh, cool, I just met Vika. She's a dope photographer. And then I go on her Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, she sings. Let's produce a track together. Yeah. Send me some vocals. And it's like, but if she doesn't have social media that's showing that either, I would never know. So yeah, that's where I think social media, it's a necessity and it's not always fun. And I think people think like it's fun for everyone to brag about themselves or post that stuff. It's not fun at 1 a.m. You're like, crap, I got to remember to post today.
Especially for artists. Like we're not natural influencers. We get there because we do influence people, right? With the music, with what we say, with what we show. So we hate being called influencers. We don't like that. We're artists. But we have that in us. We are influencers in a way. You know, we influence people for the better, I hope. You know, some people don't. Some people influence for the wrong things. But it's in the end of the day, we do that. And obviously we prefer, like you said, to like sit in the studio and just like create and do that and just be left alone. But it's also like that's in the end of the day, that's our resume. That's what like,
and that's
we have to.
And the world doesn't need that. That's selfish, right? If everyone in the world only did what they wanted to do like that, I don't know. That could be a scary competitive world.
Yeah.
It's the selfless stuff, right? And that's where it's like, yeah, we're all artists and ideally we don't want to influence. But if that's what it takes to put our art out there and the intention of our art is to change the world and positively uplift culture for the better, then we'll do that because we have to.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beautiful slice of humble pie is like, it's okay to do things that you don't want to do for the greater good. And I'm not saying do bad things. This is not an excuse. Like, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, like, not everything's going to feel great. And that's, like, I take ice baths. Ice baths suck. Look at that face. Like, super cold. But, like, your body feels so good afterwards. And it was such a good reminder. I learned that in Bali, that every day I'm doing this 3 minutes of, like, I feel like there's needles going into me.
Damn.
But afterwards you feel great. And it's like you just swallow and ingrain that truth that like things don't always feel good, and that's okay. I think our generation grew up a little soft where like some of our parents coddled us and like everything's supposed to feel good and chase that. And it's like, no. Post on Instagram because there's a girl out there that's going to resonate with your song who's 14 years old, who's struggling with XYZ, and your song's going to help her get through a tough chapter. Like, post it for her. It's not about you feeling cringe, right? And for me with like the DJ stuff too, it's like, it's not about Instagram blocking me because I say things about like anti-trafficking and like fighting human injustices. It's not like, oh no, my friends are going to think I'm weird because I'm into like fighting corruption. Who cares what Instagram thinks? It's for the kids that are right now being exploited. Like, they need a voice. And so it's just getting over ourselves a bit.
I think also when it comes to being, let's call it, successful on social media, right? Sometimes we forget that it's about other people, right? We post these selfies, we post these videos, and we forget to check with ourselves, like, is it interesting to the other person? Like, I love my photo. I think I look great. I'm going to post it. Why? Who is it going to help? Who is it going to benefit? Like, sometimes I would post, I'm like, you know what? I look great. I feel great. Here's the photo. There's no problem with that. But to talk about like the majority of the content that you want to put out there, just to think that it needs to resonate with whoever sees that.
And that's it, right? Jim Carrey, one of the most famous people in the world. That was his initial goal. He was like, I just want people to forget about life for 5 minutes. I just want to make them laugh.
Yeah.
And you know, he's got a really cool story. He talks about where it comes from and him maybe not being happy in childhood. But it's like, you want to be a successful artist in any capacity, like, focus on your audience, like, make their lives better. And that ultimately is what gives us happiness and joy. Like, you know, you chase that holiness. It's like, because that's where fulfillment comes from. That's they say there's 3 types of happiness. There's short term, like the shortest term is pleasure. That's like the food, like all the indulgences. The second shortest term is passions. That's like doing what you love, playing sports. The third one, which is the only form of lasting happiness, and they did this study with like people that were like on their deathbeds. The only form of lasting happiness is contribution, fulfillment. And so that's where I think fulfillment comes from, helping somebody else, you know, achieve or learn what you already know. And it's like when you reframe that to your art, when you reframe that to your content, that's actually, you'll get the happiness. It's the quick, ooh, I look great, post that photo lasts super short term for a dopamine fix. But when you post a photo that has the value add in the comments and it talks about, hey, I actually was really insecure when I moved here. I didn't have a lot of friends. I felt really lonely. But I want you to know 6 months later, I met somebody. And 2 years later, now I have a community. It's worth it, little rock star. Keep going. And you put that out there. It might not feel good for you because you're like, oh my God, I'm naked, raw, and vulnerable and just like shared myself. But that's going to inspire somebody else. And then when you get that comment that's like, thank you so much, I was on the fence about moving here.
Feels great. Oh my God.
There's your long-term lasting happiness. So it comes back to, like, it gets to be selfish if that makes sense. But it's the fulfillment we're after.
Wow. I love this conversation. I don't know about you. I hope you're enjoying it because I'm enjoying it. We almost at the break point that we're gonna do a break point. It's not a break point. We're almost at the point that we need to take a break. That's what I wanted to say. So we're gonna have a quick question before that, and then we're gonna have a break with Kevin's music, which is gonna be exciting, and then we're gonna continue the questions. But a short question is: so New York is known for being mainly hip hop and jazz, right? This scene, and some people like yourself, like techno DJs, you know, myself, like my genre is undefined, so.
Open format.
Yeah. So, and I feel like it's becoming more and more popular to mix genres, to play around with that. So the question would be, is New York really only for hip hop and jazz, or is it a different scene here that can be found?
100%. Short answer is no, right? It's like, I like black t-shirts, but then I also wear gray, and I got Converse shoes, and then I also got Doc Martens. You know, it's like not plugging those companies. It's like, dude, we like different things. When I'm driving on the freeway, I listen to one type of music. When I'm dancing in a club, it's totally different. I'm the same person, and I jump around genres depending on the situation. So yeah, first of all, I see that in the DJ industry a lot right now. It's like DJs are like, I'm just tech house, or I'm just house, or it's like, dude, I produce indie dance, I produce some side trance. It's like, I feel like it would be boring if I just played you the same thing for 90 minutes. It's like, I want to get you dancing, I'll play a little Afro house, get a little tribal going. Want to get it kicking up a beat, then I'll turn in the melodic stuff and get you emotional. And so, yeah, short answer, no. There's something for everybody here. There's how many million people do we have? Is it 8? Is it 20? It's like...
And so many different cultures,
so many
right?
different cultures, so many different cultures, so many different forms of art. Like, again, another one, Dear Community is a great... They do like artist meetups and hangs. But like, I think of that because it's anywhere from open mics, like speakeasies, people just playing acoustic, to then like you get the coolest people in the subway. Yeah. No, there's some... Again, it's mindset. Like anywhere you go, you'll find your people, but you have to talk about it and put it out there, and you have to look for it. If you don't look for it, if you tell yourself there's only jazz people, you'll only find jazz people.
Yeah, I feel like obviously if you're in jazz, it's going to be easier for you to maybe like type jazz and you'll see all these jazz clubs and jazz jams. Like, yeah, it's easy. But yeah, I do feel like because New York has such a saturated cultural, vibe, like everyone here love different things as well. So we do have clubs that play techno. We do have the Afrobeats parties. We have like pop, whatever.
It's insane. It's insane. Like, like the clubs in Brooklyn are insane. And as a DJ, like I lived in Ibiza. I traveled Europe to get access to all these. And now they're in my backyard. They're on the L train. It's like literally, I'm like, the Martinez brothers are in town. Like all these people that have residences in Ibiza for the summer from my EDM electronic music world. Dude, they're here like for $30, for $40, for free if you have a friend that opened and put you on a guest list. Like, it's so cool. And that's literally like electronic music stuff, whether it's techno. There's dark music. I'm in some WhatsApp group. It's like all this dark. It's just called like dark trance. And like this WhatsApp group, I'm like, this is cool. I haven't even gotten to a show. So yeah, and that's just the EDM world. And then there's pop, there's singers. My friend sings sopranos. Like she's an NYU master students, and it's like that's a whole other world of all these classy, amazing
there
people.
Was an opera concert literally like a few days ago in Bryant Park, like full on opera, like, and it was full house, like people were like, it was packed. I didn't even know it was like a huge thing, but and
it's so cool.
In my mindset is like, if you come here and you can't find what you're looking for, so create it. That's just create it.
Create it. It's fine. Exactly. 3 or 4 friends. I've DJ'd at the park by myself and people have hung.
There you go. There are always people. Some people just don't know where to look for it. So just find it and create it if it's not there. But we're going to take a little break now. Okay. So we're going to play some of your music. Do you have a song you want to open with?
Yeah. And I want to shout out, he's a friend of mine, Andrew Pope. You can find him at, I think, Pope Andrew on Instagram. And he's the original singer on this track and songwriter. And I heard this track of his, and this speaks to collaboration. I heard this track. We were both a part of this music showcase. And I just DM'd him. I was like, actually, I commented. You can literally go on his profile and see the comment. I just said, send me vocals ASAP. I'm like, send me vocal stems ASAP. That means like just the audios. And then I like produced this. So it's a collaboration. A lot of people love this track, and actually like a dance team ended up performing this like in Europe, in Paris.
Wow.
Wow. It was a vibe. So
which one is this?
This is Stay.
So we're going to start with Stay, and we're going to be back in a few minutes. Enjoy. Here, hello, hello, hello. Damn, we have so many interesting things
I
to
know.
talk about. Okay. So, before we dive back to the questions, I have questions to you. So, as I read, when I was reading your bio, like you mentioned that you had a motorcycle accident and that brought you to church, right? And to stronger believing. So, I wanted to touch on that and to ask you about that a little bit, like go into the details of that. What
love it.
happened there?
I mean, I think people have a weird connotation with God and the church because of religion. I think it's very important we separate the idea of religion from God, right? I think religion is like man's way of like, I don't know, trying to get their own agenda pushed sometimes. And so I think a lot of times people have left religion, or I did. Like I grew up, I always believed in God, but I always struggled with religion. And I just kind of found what worked for me, and that was great. Was in a head-on motorcycle accident in Bali coming home one night, and I should have died. Like the roads are like literally like 6 feet wide. It feels like we were on this. It's called the Canggu shortcut. You can Google it and go look it up on Instagram. Now there's all buildings. It used to be beautiful. You just drive through this rice paddy, but some crazy American driver was on like a massive scooter, probably going like 40 miles per hour, maybe like 60, 70 I don't know what that is, kilometers an hour. And he tried to pass somebody on his side and he came into my lane. We hit each other head on. And like, I pretty much almost walked out without a scratch. And like, bit of an exaggeration, my thumb still has a missing nail from it 3 years later. And my right ankle was messed up. I couldn't walk for a few months. But ultimately, I was fine. And where I was at the time in Bali, I always tell people, I'm like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't like this crazy selfish person. Like, dude, I was chasing my dreams. And I always thought that was better than the people that weren't doing what they loved, right?
Is it this?
Yeah, the Canggu shortcut. It's pretty beautiful. Now there's like all buildings on either side of it, but you could see how narrow it is.
Yeah.
And so we drive on the left. So I was driving on the left and the guy was coming down the hill and he tried to pass someone in his lane and he came into mine. So we're just like facing each other. I'm like, from me to you distance, I'm like, I'm going to die. Like, I'm on a motorcycle, he's on a scooter, and we're both going 40 miles an hour at each other. This is going to hurt. And if you saw my bike after, it was crazy how like everything protected me. Like my right handlebar took like all the impact, and like there was a pierce in my gas tank where like it should have hit me, but like something pierced my gas tank instead of me. And my right foot, like the brake pedal in front of, if you look at a motorcycle, there's like a brake pedal in front of where your right foot is, like that got hit and got bent all the way around. It's like somehow this little frame on my motorcycle in every way protected my entire body.
It wasn't your time.
It wasn't my time. And that's what I realized. I was like, if this isn't my time, like what else am I supposed to be doing in the world? Like my TikTok business is cool. I helped like, 100, 150 people grow on social media and change their lives. And that was super impactful, like, because their content inspired others and their lives directly changed. But I was like, but that stuff can disappear overnight, social media. And I was like, well, what's longer lasting? And that's when music came in. And I was like, music can last generations. A good song is, we listen to stuff from the 70s, 80s. People listen way, way older than that. And so I was like, all right, well, if I would make music because it lasts longer and it leaves a longer legacy and impact, what would I create? And at the time, I was like, I just wanted to like spread more truth in the world. I think a lot of times the problem is a lack of knowledge. I think most of us, like 99% of us, all have good hearts. We're all trying to make the world a better place. It's the lack of knowledge to know how, lack of knowledge being guided by either the wrong political party or the wrong leader. Like you look at the Hitler stuff, like all that, it's like people are just led in the wrong direction. We're not bad people innately. I don't believe that. I think humans are an incredible species filled with love. I think we just lack knowledge sometimes, or
affected by the wrong environment.
Forced to do stuff for survival. So in trying to spread truth, I was like, I'm just going to put like spiritual truths over electronic music. I did like EDM. Like I had that concept. And my reason was I was like, EDM transcends all countries. Like everyone listens to like some form of music, and looking at trends with content too, I always just kind of see where the world is moving. I was just like, EDM is taking off, right? It's like, it started out with Avicii and Kygo in 2013. And now like every pop song sounds like an old EDM track. Like they all have a drop in it. And I was just like, it's just a matter of time that like that becomes the mainstream. So I was like, I'll make electronic music with truths over it. And so where I was at in my life was I was trying to seek truth and understand just all the mysteries of the world. And I was trying to make money. I was like 29, 30 years old. I was like, I want to be a man. I want to provide for my family. And I do believe that like that was my role. So I was like, I need to figure out this whole financial thing. And that led me to the entertainment industry and honestly the corruption that I've seen in the upper echelons of society, essentially. We'll leave some of it at that if you look deeper into it, there's a few people at the top pulling the strings, and they own a lot of big media platforms, whether it's news networks, whether it's record labels. And it's those record labels, those news outlets, it's media that ultimately shifts culture. And so in having that motorcycle accident and realizing it wasn't my time, and I need to be spending my time then doing something that leads a greater impact, that led me to music. And then when I got into the like, well, what would I create? I was like, oh my God, like I just need to create truth. Like I need to do the opposite. Right now I look at the state of the world and it's a bit morbid. It's sad. Like it's heart-wrenching. In 2024, where we're at, there's so much bad stuff happening in all these countries. There's all this war. And it shouldn't be that way. Like maybe years ago, you're like, all right, people are stupid, we're less evolved. But now, like with the technology, with what we all know about like life, it's like, how are we still living this way? And I think
it's weird, right? We kind of like, we know it, but we still fall for it.
And I think we fall for it because people feel hopeless. They feel like the people in charge are going to do whatever they want and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's really disheartening. And so that's where I was like, as artists, we have an opportunity to make a shift. I believe that it's not the different politician in the White House or in a different, country's leader that's actually going to change everything. It's the arts that ultimately shifts culture. And right now, our arts, if we look back, a lot of the majority are not positive influences. If you listen to the words of the songs, it's drugs.
Oh my God, don't let me get started on that.
We don't even have to get into what it is. If you listen to the majority of what's on mainstream, it's not healthy. It's not promoting a better lifestyle, and it's not going to lead to a better world or a happier future for even yourself. And so that's when it clicked. And I was like, if I want to fight the darkness, like, I'm on the side of the light. So I call that God. That's my faith. And I was like, and I'm going to bring light into the darkness with my music. And so that's when I started producing music that, will take certain truths, because again, social media will hide stuff. It'll censor stuff, And I was like, but songs don't do that yet. And I hope this stays that way.
Yeah.
I was like, songs will last and they will mark an imprint of like where we're at in society. If you make a song about what's going on in 2024, that's going to be there in 2050. And you can't deny that. You can't say that's fake news. Like if somebody makes that and it was produced in 2024, that was the state of their world.
That's the reality.
That's their reality. And it's not, some web page that you can delete the information and edit the Wikipedia for. And so, so that's what led me to start making music and just, and trying to inspire other artists, whether it's a singer, a comedian, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what side of a political spectrum you're on. It's like, if you have a good heart and you're on the side of the light in the world, which is like, you're against the devil, you're for God. It's like, dude, you need to be the one putting out your art because we need more light.
We definitely need more light. And I feel like if artists would treat the art, like if we will be just a little bit less selfish and a little bit more to the community and to want to help people in whatever group you decide to help, whether it's people, animals, the children of Africa. It can be any cause that you just, any cause.
Yeah.
And if we just do a little bit of that, and if art will become the majority of art will become about that, the world will be a better place. But you are absolutely right. The media today, there's so much bad stuff going on. There's such a bad influence with children growing up seeing all this naked bodies dancing, thinking that's
normal
feminism and that's how it should be, and all just like the drugs and everything. It's like it shows too much of everything and makes you think that's...
And then we wonder why we're 20 years old, 30 years old, all chasing short-term pleasures.
Yeah.
That don't lead to happiness.
The money, the cars, the diamonds,
It's a lustful society.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, you could judge an action based on the fruits of it. Like, that's how you judge if something's good or bad. You see what the result is, like what it ultimately leads to. And when you see a society that's chasing all those things, those short-term fixes, those dopamine hits, you look at the society and it's like, countries aren't multiplying, people aren't making babies anymore because they don't think the world's a good place to bring kids into. And it's like, that shows you that the way you're living isn't working, that it's not producing the right fruit. So we need to change.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just think, like you mentioned, they as a one person, they don't have
the power
to really change something. And a lot of people don't realize that even if you have 50 followers on your social media and you said something that will affect, if it affects at least one person 100%. And they can change their lives and they can go home to their friend or to their spouse or to their family and be like, yo, I read this amazing quote online and like this and this. And this is the small seeds that we're planting, especially if you have 70,000 followers on TikTok.
It adds up. And I'm so glad you said that. And this goes exactly to what you were saying. That's why I love connecting with you, is like, it's about not being selfish ultimately and giving and putting others first. And it's like, I read that Happy Pocket Full of Money book in 2022 and it changed my life. Like, I did make more money after. It was a weird little hack. I understood money differently. And then you get to share it with one person. And I read that book because somebody shared it with me.
I mean, I'll read it now.
Exactly.
So there you go. And then I'll recommend it to other people.
And that's how it works. And that's how it works with smile. You know, it's silly, but it's like smiling at somebody when you're buying your groceries or walking on the subway. And it's like, we never know what other people are going through. And yeah, I love what you said. It's just sometimes putting other people's needs first. And if we do that with our art, that's actually the key to success.
That's true. And I think it actually ties to the next question that we had. And this is, should I accept free gigs? Because I feel like in the music industry, and especially like I hear it a lot of people, a lot of venues and, you know, bars and clubs, they know they feed off of our need to like grow and succeed. And they're like, oh, we're not paying, but this is exposure, right? And a lot of us artists, they're like, oh, but I need to get paid for my art. Like, why is it free? Like, what do you mean free? What's your take on that?
Yeah, my answer is it's a yes and no. And the yes is it depends on the season. I don't think I need to answer that I should always do it or that I'm ever too good to do it. Depends on the season. If I'm in a state of growth and I'm trying to take on and meet new people and I have the time and space, then of course, take on the free gig. I'm not booked. But if I'm super booked and people are paying me, then no, now I don't need it. So it's just supply and demand. Yeah. And I think people have an ego attached where it's like, oh, I don't do free art. It's like, well, that one free thing, somebody might have been listening and then they were going to book you at their venue because you're doing an open mic for free, but they don't know that they're listening. They also own a cafe. And now they're like, yo, we want you on Friday and we're going to pay you every Friday for the rest of your year.
You know, I got my free gig like that. It was back in LA. I was doing an open mic.
Yep.
And then in the end of the night, the owner of the place, he came to me and he was like, we're doing also paid shows. So we would like to have you and your two other friends that you perform with. And if you want, like we have Friday night and you get the ticket sales and everything. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I went to an open mic.
And that's exactly it. And like Gen Z, you know, even some millennials, Gen Alpha, it's like we all want what we want right away. It's like instant gratification. It's not our fault. I don't judge us. Like we grew up with phones where we press a button and our food comes or the taxi comes. But you want to please the people who have money? That's the Gen Xers and the boomers and all those people. They respect hustle. They respect people putting in their time because they grew up in a generation where they did a lot of stuff. You know, they'd work the mailroom job for 5 years before they got promoted. They really understood delayed gratification. And so, yeah, I think it's actually a great hack to like offer to do free stuff because busy people, sometimes it's hard to sell busy people on what you offer because they don't need you. Exactly. They have the money, they have people around them filling their needs. You got to add value to their life. And sometimes to add value, you got to dip into your pockets a little bit and like go above and beyond for a little while. Prove yourself, and then they're like, okay, cool, now I know it. And I think what holds people back is our egos around, I don't want to prove myself, and I don't have to earn this, and I've already done that. And it's like, yeah, you have, and it's not about you. It's not about proving yourself. It's just about like, if you want this really cool opportunity, you might have to like show that person the value of what you're offering is going to make their restaurant get more visitors by you playing.
For sure.
You know, or or you want to play in a band, like you want to be a drummer that tours, like you might have to show up a few times for free as their backup and crush it. And then they're like, you know what? This guy's actually super reliable. Exactly. Both those Thursdays, our guy got sick. We called Kevin. I actually used to drum when I'm 8 years old. I'm not plugging myself for that. I don't claim myself as a drummer. I make, you know, music production. But it's like, we called this guy Kevin and he showed up both times. Like, you know what? We're going to bring him on tour with us because we can rely on him. And so I'm a big fan of doing free stuff. I think if the time permits, great.
And if it's a good cause, maybe it's a charity event or something at church, right? You're not going to be like, oh, my rate is, you know.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, the answer is it's situational. Yeah. Check yourself, check the energy of the person, the venue. For me, I go to God. Like I've done things by myself where I've only ran it by myself. And that's led me to like just a lot of ups and downs in life that wasn't easy. And now I'm a little bit older. It's like I ask my wise counsel. I go to God. I ask my friends that are older, a bit wiser. I get feedback. So then I make a better decision. So yeah, I mean, if you have like creepy EBGB vibes about a venue or the person, to answer even the other thing, like don't take every paid gig. You know, like sometimes a paid gig doesn't feel right. And it's not the feeling that like you don't want to do it. It's like, it's a knowing that you really don't have peace. Like sometimes like you're scared to do stuff and that's okay. Don't run away from that. You know,
but
there's a
sometimes it
difference.
feels wrong.
Sometimes you just know like
Yeah.
this isn't a good space. I don't have like a good energy. I don't trust that. Like it doesn't, you just know there's something off. It's like, don't do that one. Because the money might seem tempting, but those are the ones that like things go wrong. People have missed expectations and it's just like,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, you know, you're saying God for some people is just like tap into your intuition, your energy, whatever you believe in, whatever. And again, we're not talking here about religion. That's separate. Some of you who are not religious, that's also fine. Like we're just talking about something that you believe
greater
in,
than you.
Exactly. Something
Wiser.
that gives you that, you know, somebody you can talk to, right?
Yeah.
For some of you, it can be your mom. Like that's
100%.
absolutely fine. And just like think about that, you know, think about like whether it's worth for you to accept this free gig, maybe, or maybe it's not worth for you, or maybe this person is trying to exploit you, and however, like they covering it with a good cause, but you kind of like not trusting that. That's also like a
and
thing.
I will say most of the time, like I don't want to do the thing. I'm always glad I did it. I don't know about you. For me, it's like 80% of the time, I'm like, no, it's too early, you know, or I'm there. And I always do it. Like last night, meeting up with a friend, I'm like, oh, I'm busy. I should be doing this. And then you go and you're like, I'm so glad I like got that smoothie.
Usually.
So I think
like that.
if it's not going to hurt me, if it's not going to like really like dip into my pockets financially or like screw me up with other stuff by putting the time, I try to do it mostly anyway. Take the free gig, take the opportunities, because then I know like I'd rather know what doors it opens than close the door.
Yeah, my mom always used to say it's better to regret something you did than something you didn't do.
There you go.
Because at least you did it. Even if you go to a social event and you feel like you didn't meet anyone and you were like kind of shy the entire year, so what? You went.
Yeah.
You put yourself out there.
And then you at least know, right?
Yeah.
Like rather than telling yourself, I don't know, that cafe seemed weird. It's like for all you know, you would have went and like you would have gotten that paid gig afterwards.
Yeah.
But if you go and it was weird, then you're like, okay, whatever. It was 3
I know
hours.
now, right?
Now
Like,
I know.
exactly.
I know that I confirmed that intuitive feeling was right. So for the future, I know to trust that. And like, whatever, it was 3 hours and I got a free coffee.
Exactly. Just be positive.
Yeah.
The next question is actually about the paid gigs. So people were asking whether you need to be a company, an LLC, or how, like, if you are getting free gigs, paid gigs, and for example, it's not like crazy, right? It's not like thousands of dollars in the beginning. If it's like $60, $100, $200, do you need to have like a company? Do you know about that?
Yeah. Short answer is no, you don't. Like as a U.S. citizen, like you can claim taxes without like as generated income without owning an LLC. An LLC just protects you from liability so that like if I don't have an LLC and you wanted to sue me because I did something, like it would come out of whatever I, Kevin Diamond, own. But if I have an LLC, you could sue my LLC and I'm like, all right, that's bankrupt, but it ain't worth much. So run away, you know, but I'm not going to lose my mortgage. So I think an LLC is great. I will say that like, if you haven't like look into it, it's super easy to set up. They're like usually like $100 US, which maybe for some is a lot of money. I do want to honor that, but it's like most states you can set one up and then you can claim your personal income that way. Even if you're an employee and you do what's called like a W-2, you could also have an LLC and claim like the art stuff through
and
that.
It's good, especially as a musician. Like if you have expenses, right? You pay for apps, you pay for equipment, you pay for travel to the gig. It all can be claimed as the LLC, right?
And the LLC makes it so easy to like do that. You pay less in like taxes, like as an LLC doing it than you would like if it was like just yourself. I believe, again, not tax, not financial advice, but yeah, I think an LLC is great to have. But again, if you don't have it, if that's not set up yet, don't let that hold you back. Like accept the $50, accept the $150. When tax season rolls around, like be transparent. Tell your accountant, you know, if you work with an accountant, like what you did and just figure out, like pay the taxes on it. Like,
it's a little complicated. I wish I could have an accountant here on the show to kind of just like explain to you how, because taxes in America are complicated.
They're not
like
fun.
They're hard, really. So I'll try. Maybe I'll get an accountant. Maybe if you're watching and you know an accountant, he'll be happy to come to Newtown Radio.
That works with
that would be
artists.
nice. Yeah, exactly. That would be great. But it actually leads me to another question that probably I'll be better to answer because I'm like, because all the visa stuff. But somebody asked, like, because you mentioned if you're an U.S. citizen, that's
Yeah.
like, that's easy, right? But for some people, some of you are coming from outside the States on a tourist visa, on like, or you want to come on a certain visa, and like people are asking how they can get a visa to come as a musician. And I have a few short answers on that because I'm not like an attorney. I can't really give like visa advice, but the one way to come here as a musician is if you want to go to a school, to a music school, to a music college, to a music, which you don't have to, but that's like, that would be probably the easy way to come as a student, right? But then again, it doesn't allow you to work, right? A student visa doesn't allow you to work. But after you finish your studies, whether it's a certificate, associate, or bachelor, you get an OPT. An OPT is a whole year that the US government allows you to work in your fields of studies. So you have 1 year to actually be paid for your gigs, to be paid as a musician, to work in any music-related business, startup, have your own LLC, that's also fine. And then you can start tapping into that, which after that, you can apply for an artist visa. This is not a guarantee. An artist visa, you really need to prove yourself as an artist. You can't just say, oh, I just started, I have some songs on Spotify. No, it's not. Why is it? Stop recording, sorry. But it's not just like a, I feel like an artist, I identify as an artist, so no, it's a hard visa to get because you need to prove a lot of things. You need to have press coverage, you need to have recommendations and all these things. It's all important, but it's a possibility. You can. To tell you that it's, if you're an artist in your country, in wherever you are from, to apply for an artist visa to come then to America, it's really hard. Really, really hard. However possible. You can. If you're a big deal in your country and you want to travel to the States, then it's definitely a possibility.
And I have a friend who just did that actually. And he was scared because he was like, uh-oh, what if I get rejected? All this stuff. And what happened is like it worked. And there's companies that actually like support you with that. And so that was cool. And I will share some of the stuff they had to go through was exactly what you just said. It was like, they needed some references. They needed some people to like who also had a bit of a following to vouch for them and say like, yes, this is an artist. They needed some references. They needed some press, like having some articles, written about them, confirming what they did. They also needed to have things like booked, like they needed to show why they needed to be in the States. And again, this is just, friend of a friend. So not giving advice, knowing this is exactly what it is. Sometimes it changes, but I know for them, those were some of the things. And so I will just say that it's totally doable. And there are companies that help with this, so that you don't have to just go on your own and apply for the visa and answer all the questions. Like there are actually companies that will help you with the process. And if you don't have all of the things, let's just say maybe they can support you in finding a way to create the things. And if you don't have all the gigs, they can maybe connect you with other booking agencies that will book you so you have those reasons to be in the States.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's companies that do this. And I think I always like referrals. So if you're looking to do that and you're not from the States, it's like start asking other friends or people that that have done it. How'd you do it? Did you work with a company? Who'd you work with? Take that introductory call, like ask that company.
And be out there, like everything you said, it's just like, it's not that yesterday decided to go for an artist visa and today the documents are ready. Like you mentioned, like it's a process. And if you want all these referrals and all like working with people that have following, knowing people, getting their reference, being out there, going out there, collaborating with people, collaborations also help a lot. Like if you collaborated with people that are a little bit like, bigger than you or like from the US especially. And, it's a lot of work. I have friends that filed for an artist visa and they prepared for these documents for a long time. It is a long process. So take that in account but I feel like if you're an artist, like if you're truly an artist for like a few years, right? Like you will have press coverage. Yeah. You will have all these connections. You already have that. And if you have a little bit extra that you need to fill in the blanks, right? So that's what you're working towards. But as an artist, I'm sure that like even if you needed to apply for US visa, you would already have most of it because you're being an artist already, right?
You figure it out, and it's like sometimes it's our ideas that's like, oh, I want to be rich and famous and successful, so I'm gonna move to the US and do it. And it's like, maybe your best bet was actually going to Jakarta in Indonesia or the Philippines or Brazil or Costa Rica and blowing up there first.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk, if you follow him, big media guy, I think he did something like that. He talks about it. He like went to one country and like blew up online and ended up being like a #1 bookseller there. And then that like he was able to leverage that and then grow in the US and other markets. And
Yeah.
I literally know a vocal coach who's worked with some of the top artists, like the Miley Cyrus level artists out there. And he literally was giving this exact feedback to a friend of mine who's a rapper. And he's like, dude, you should like go to like Southeast Asia or go to Central or South America. He's like, blow up in like this really different market. He's like, we already have a Drake in the United States. He's like, why compete with Drake? He's like, go here where there's not a Drake and go become that Drake for that country. And then when you have all these millions of followers, then you can leverage that and come here and do it. And so I just think it's like, knock on every door until the right door opens, or like knock on the same door until it opens. And it's like, if certain doors don't open, if you get rejected by the artist visa, it doesn't mean you're not meant to be an artist.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are other places.
Maybe not there, or maybe not right now. And it's like, go other places first and then try. So yeah, I think it's just kind of like being open versus like, oh, it has to look a certain way. I need to move to LA. And then you get to LA and you're like, I'm sitting in 45 minutes of traffic. I need to own a car. I need a 12-month lease. And I'm still not meeting anybody. It's like, yeah, you were better off staying in your country, blowing up on TikTok and DMing people and making collaborations online for free before you did that. And then, but that works for some people, and other people, like we talked about New York, it's like, you got to get out there. So you know what? Do the barista thing. Don't get the car. Come to New York. At least you can walk places and then meet people. So, you know, the moral of the story is, like you said, just get yourself out there, talk to people, and like, just build your network. Like that's the biggest hack for all of it. For the visa stuff, it's like, you need to know people. And that's why take the free gigs, because it's not always about making the $300. It's sometimes about like the other artist that took the free gig, and you maintain a friendship and they happen to be from a different country. And then 2 years later, your friend's coming from a different country and you're like, oh, I can connect you because this girl I met at like this open mic also got an artist visa. So now my friend can help you out.
Exactly. And it happens. It's very hard to like to do it, like to modify it and to be like, okay, today I'm meeting this person and next week I have to meet this producer. And like, but as long as you're out there and you're meeting people, you will, like you'll get there. So don't worry about it. And I like what you said about being open to other things in other places. And you know, it's very different for some of us, because some people will come to New York and they're like, it's too busy, it's too crowded, it's too hard, it's too blah, blah, blah. Some people come to New York and feel at home. I feel at home here. I know my genre maybe can work better in other places, but here I'm inspired, here I'm motivated, here I just love it here, you know. And so for me it works, but every person has their own journey and their own path, and you can't follow exactly the footsteps of somebody else because they have something else going on. So just remember that. And
you got to try it. Like, you can sit online all day asking you like what New York is like, or asking me, or DMing. I used to get this all the time in Bali. Like, I'm living in Bali, my life is a dream. And the comments, the DMs, what's it like in Bali? I'm thinking of moving there. And I'm like, just come. Like, don't ask me a question. Save up on a flight and just figure it out. Just come here for a week and see how it feels. See if you vibe with this area. See if that's working with you. If you're in the flow. If not, okay. Yeah. Some places don't work for everyone. That's okay. And I think people are so scared, and they like try to come up with this huge decision like, I'm moving to New York. And it's like, you know what? Just like, why don't you just like find a friend and like book a weekend trip? Like, I have a friend. She's phenomenal, like singer. She's going to be on Broadway. And I was away on family vacation a couple weeks ago. So I told her parents and her, I was like, my apartment's going to be empty. You're a senior in high school. Why don't you come stay at my apartment for free with your parents when I'm gone, and you can get a taste of New York City? And they did that. It was awesome. They came with the parents and the two daughters, and like they got to experience for their daughter what it would be like not just being in Midtown, right? Because people think of New York and they think of like Midtown and the hustle and bustle, and there's Brooklyn, there's the Bronx.
What part are
Queens.
You from?
I'm in Chelsea.
Chelsea, okay.
Big plug. I love Chelsea.
I love Chelsea.
Super expensive, but it's like, for me, it's super quiet. It's right by the water. There's little quaint coffee shops. It's my vibe. I love that. And so this friend was able to get that Chelsea experience, which was totally contrary to like any other time she's gone, and she stayed in Midtown near Times Square, and it's the hustle and bustle. She was like, oh my God, this was like such an amazing experience. Totally different. Yeah. So it's like, we don't always have to just go black or white. And I say that to myself. I'm a very black or white, all in, all out person. But sometimes just trying it. It's like with the artist visa too. You know what? If you're from a different country, just fly to New York, fly to San Diego, fly to LA. Yeah. Do a trip there on vacation. You can get that if, you know, your passport permits, and feel it out and talk to people there. Sit in a coffee shop and ask every single person, hey, like, do you mind if I ask you a question? I'm from France. I'm from wherever. Like, I'm thinking of moving here. And see what, I call it God, but like, see what the people, the universe shows you at that experience. So it's like, try things out. Don't be afraid of that.
I love the trying thing, because, you know, sometimes we have like a certain like dream about a place, right? We have associations with that like from movies and then you come there and you're like, oh, that's not what I expected, or this is exactly what I expected. Why is that?
And like, sometimes you don't want to try it. Like with the Bali thing, that was a one-way ticket. Because I'm like, if I try that, like, it's going to feel uncomfortable. So I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off, burn all the bridges, you know, burn the boats, they say, and make that like, I'm going to make it work. And like, so again, just check the season you're in. Do you have some savings? Are you at a financial place where you can go all in and risk it for a bit? Then cool. You might be able to just move to New York on a one-way. Are you not like at that place? And like then maybe just come for a weekend and like test it out. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just, it's situational. See what works for you. And like, if you feel like testing it, test it. If you feel like going all in, go all in. The visa stuff's possible. It's all possible.
Full on storage, but that's it. I erased something. We actually need to like finish soon. I was cleaning the storage from my phone, and I'm like, damn, it's 50 already. Like I told you, like we have the last minutes. That's insane. And we didn't even cover all the questions because we went beyond, and I love it. And I think it's great that we talked about all these things. We do have to finish, and we will get back to your music for 10 minutes while we're wrapping up here. But damn, I feel like we covered almost everything. If you're watching, you have some more questions. If you want to ask a question, you know how to find me. I'm also gonna link your socials and everything on the YouTube video in the comment section. So you can also reach out to Kevin if that's okay with you, and ask if you have anything. If you're a DJ, you know, if you're in that style of music and you have something in particular that you want to talk to him, also follow him because he's awesome. He's amazing. And I hope to have you soon again for other things, and maybe play something and maybe talk about other things. But that was a great episode. I love that. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Any final advice, final thing that you want to mention? Just
keep going after it. Like, if you're already here and you're listening to this in your car or at night, like, again, you're that 10%, that top 10% of the people that are actually trying to read, to learn, to do something different. So just take a word of encouragement that don't compare yourself to other people's front of stage. We're all running our own path. We're all in our own lane. How you're going to make money is going to be different. What cities you're going to fit in is going to be different. Just have like permission to say no to the things that don't work for you, say yes to the things that work for you. It's never going to be a cookie cutter situation. Life is a bit unorthodox, and it's okay to figure it out. So take wherever you're at. And I think just like, work on the mindset stuff, work on the beliefs, get your beliefs right. Like for me, that's like getting my beliefs right with God, and knowing who you are. And like, once you know that, the behaviors, the actions, the steps to take will follow. So focus on the mindset stuff, check out these books. You're already doing it, surrounding yourself with other wise people. Talk to people, put yourself out there. Do it for the light.
Amen. That was great. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Of course.
See you.